Yeah, hi there. This is Victor Brown speaking. I wanted to continue my video series on deconstructing the state. I made a primer kind of introduction video already, and which before watching this video, if you haven't seen it, by all means check it out first. But just to give you a brief idea of the thesis that I advanced. I make a correlation between the family and government. Okay, now we are born into basically the idea of the thesis that I was advancing was is that we are born into the world where we are totally helpless. Okay, our guardians and our parents are the first introduction into the world of ethics and authority. They We are completely and wholly dependent upon our parents, and we tend to look at them because we are still very young and our mind is developing, and so we tend to look up at these beings as wise and benevolent overlords who are catering to our needs, taking care of us, supporting us, feeding us, clothing us, providing shelter. So we tend to think that, hey, they know what they're doing, and we might not be entirely happy with the edicts and demands that they make upon us and the rules that they impose, and but we tend to think that, hey, they know what they're doing, because we are completely and wholly dependent upon them, and they are self-sustaining and independent, and so something is being done right here. So that is the paradigm that we are born into. We are completely and utterly dependent upon our well-being and survival by our ultimate caregivers, or parents in this case. So that whole conditioning is set. Okay, mental that mental conditioning is there, and I advanced the thesis that it is something that we carry over to the state. Okay, there's a lot of correlations and parallels between the family and the state. The language gives it away, as I said. You have references such as the fatherland and Mother Russia and nanny state. Maybe nanny state is more up to date and more North American, but the language is there when it comes to describing government or the state. There's a lot of references that are analogous to the family, and so that's no accident, basically, as I've argued. Okay, so when I say authoritarian-based ethic, of course, a lot of the ethics are, that the parents impose upon us are of the variety of, well, because I said so, that's why, and do as I say, not as I do. And the reason for this is because parents, the average parent, is not a person who's well studied in philosophy and ethics. They're just making it up as they go along. There's no blueprint or study I mean, they might read all kind of baby books in regards to our physical well-being to see what what kind of the temperature of milk, and to make sure we're all bundled up at night so we don't get cold and or die from crib death or whatever. They for the most part tending to our physical needs, but when it comes to emotional and intellectual needs, parents for the most part are I guess there's no nice way of putting it, highly ineffective. Okay, well, we'll say that. How about that? Very highly ineffective. So this is not, necessarily a scathing criticism of the family. I think the family has the potential of being something that could be very beneficial, but In the society that we live in today, it's pretty much a mess. You see dysfunction everywhere. But even for those cases of where you have good homes, if you love your parents and think that they're wonderful, congratulations, you won the cosmic crapshoot. But even in those homes, there is still an establishing of authoritarian based kind of ethic. Okay, so that's what we tend to look at ethics as, is a bunch of, arbitrary rules and subjective rules and demands, and to be backed up with rewards or punishments if we don't follow into a line. So the conformity is set. So we take that mental structure that for the 18 plus years that we're encased in it, and there's this habit of transferring that power over to the government. Okay, we tend to look at the government as a wise overlord, and we might not necessarily agree with all of its edicts and demands and regulations and rules and laws and things like that, but we tend to look at them as wise, benevolent overlords who, just like our parents, seem to know what they're doing. We might be hypercritical of a government. We might say, politicians are a lot of crooks, and blah, 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 but that just seems like a family feud, a family squabble, because the idea of a stateless society, a society without government, just fills us with emotional panic. Okay, so when people say, politicians are all crooks and the government is rotten and evil and it's a necessary evil, or blah blah blah, yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That is not a critical look at a government, because once you get down to, when you boil down to it, when that person faces somebody such as an anarchist, the anger and the emotional panic sets in once the anarchist begins to dissect and offer up an actual critique of this paradigm, of this institution called government. So that's when you begin to, when you scratch a little bit too deeply, you'll find white rage if you push it too far. And so that is to say that the actual power of the state is not only the guns and the thugs that are backing up the politicians' laws and edicts. It's the actual power of the state is the emotional and intellectual power that we give to it, the credence that we give to it. That is the power of the state, is the intellectual and moral support that we give it. Okay, we tend to think of, we look at ourselves as children, they're wise overlords. If there was no state or no government, the emotional panic sets in. We tend to look at ourselves as infants lost out into the wilderness, and the parents have driven off. They left us at the campsite. There we are, 2 years old, and they drove off. I mean, that is the kind of emotional panic that a lot of people have when it comes to the idea of a stateless society. And that kind of mental gulag has been established by the family. The family. That's where it began. This is not a natural state of affairs to look at. When you get down to it, let's just speak empirically. And the government is nothing more than an aggregate of people. We're all people. Yet we have bestowed upon this institution, these people, a certain philosopher king, ivory tower, looking down, looking upon, looking after us kind of status. And as I said, this is something that has been, the mindset has been established and refined and finessed by the first institution that we're born into, and that being the family. We carry it over to the state. So in this case, to flesh out the analogy even further, you have the country, whatever country you're born into, as the household. The country is the household. The parents, or the government rather, are the parents. Okay. And here's the thing. Our fellow citizens, who are our fellow citizens? Well, they are siblings. Get it? Don't you just love this thesis? Now, let me just back that up a little bit further. Take the phrase once again. Language always gives you away. Gives you away. Just like I said when we described the government as a necessary evil. The word here is evil on a subconscious level. We are processing the empirical data. We look at these people and what they're doing, and we say, yes, that's evil. Maybe not consciously, subconsciously it's there, but it's a necessary evil. Don't leave us out in the woods. We're infants. Don't leave us out in the woods. Don't go away. You are a necessary evil. Okay. So when you hear phrases such as, well, love it or leave it, pal, okay? This is the type of resentment and anger that is hurled at the anarchists. We look at the anarchist as a spoiled child who is completely and utterly ungrateful. This pathetic ingrate is just not happy for all that the government, parents, are doing. Look at the freedoms that it allows us. And we look at other households, countries, as completely dysfunctional. You know, we look at those Middle East parents. Boy, look at that. Hey, what kind of a household is that? And look at the household that we have. Look at the parents that we have and what they're doing for us. And here's this sibling over here, this spoiled, rotten brat who doesn't appreciate everything that's being done for him, for the roads, you know, for the welfare, for the social programs, for the hospitals, for the education, bestowing all these goods upon us. Now, but of course, here's the tragedy. Here's the tragedy. Excuse me. Of course, parents provide for our needs. However lousy they might be as parents and their dopey approach to ethics and all the mistakes that they make, of course they are, by and large, are providing for our physical needs. Okay, they are holding the jobs. We are completely and utterly dependent upon them for our shelter, for our food, for all the treats that they bestow upon us, the gifts, computers, cars, whatever. And they are working to earn that money that they're unable to support us. But however, the government is a freaking parasite. The government does not produce anything. All it does is feed upon the population's efforts and production, and it expropriates that and then distributes it as it sees fit. So unlike parents, though, they are parasites. So that is the tragedy that here we are as the citizens. We are bestowing all these kudos and upon them, the support that we give them intellectually and morally, and this is the mental entrapment. This is why that no matter what the body count is, and no matter what kind of economic paralysis and eventual collapses that the governments bring upon us, we still tend to look at them as our wise and benevolent overlords, that without them we would be as children in the wilderness. And however, the fact of the matter is that they're nothing but parasites, and this is the type of mental grip that we have to first identify and see in order to break us from our chains. So I might continue further on the family. If not, I would like to speak of the correlation between family, government, and religion. But in the meantime, I will bid you a fair adieu. Pop goes the culture. Thanks for listening.